Bester's internal struggle, because everyone that he interacted with kind of saw him as this villain, especially as the era changed. But internally, he was always, I think, the hero in his own mind, because he always did things in the best interest of his people.
I don't think it's possible to be as truthful as you possibly can in a role, unless you believe in the character, unless you find something in that character that you can justify, the behavior. Otherwise, you're pretending, and you're not really feeling it. And there was a point where, here again, I'm digressing, slap me across the face if I don't come back to this. You remember the infamous Charles Manson? He and his gang raped, killed people. And he had a cult following. Well, they were going to make a movie about him, and they couldn't find anybody to play the part. All over Los Angeles, they auditioned actors, and then I came in, and they gave an audition that knocked the guy out, the director. And said, "My God, that's Charlie Manson. That's Charlie Manson. Just hang on, it's Charlie." Well, as it turned out, another actor who Elia Kazan recommended, named Steve Railsback, got the role. And Steve Railsback was brilliant, so that was okay. I don't have any problem with somebody who's better than I am playing a part. It's only when somebody who's not as good gets it all frustrated. But how do I play Charlie Manson? Well, it's the whole thing of the suspension of disbelief. You don't take into account the effects on the families, and friends, and the people that he's killed. You just try to get to a motivation that you can live with. What it is about him that you can identify with and experience. I would never do anything like that. But we are all capable of, heinous feelings. We've learned through the process of socialization that we don't give in to those things. Part of being civilized is to keep those kind of aggressive, violent tendencies, in place, in check. So when it came to Bester, I got back there. All right. I'm not always sure I'm going to be able to do that. When it came to Bester, I just decided this was a man who was extremely loyal to his people. He was from a discriminated minority, and that I would, as I would for my family, my personal family, I would do anything for them, and if it meant, very frankly, if it meant breaking the law to protect them, I would do that. That's the kind of persona that I took on, and the behaviors set that I took on for myself, playing that part. That it was, my people were that important to me that I could commit these bad things, these atrocities, but in the name of something that I believed in protecting my people. And then I just added a lot of, I just added personality. I had fun doing that. Just added the kind of guy he was. Not only his behavior, but the kind of person he was.
You said it was fun, and he's definitely perceived as a villain, though. Chekov is a good guy, with the possible exception of the Mirror Mirror episode. So was it more fun to play a good guy or a bad guy?
It was really more fun to play Bester.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a good guy or a bad guy. I'm not walking around with a lot of, anger and hostility that I need to express. And Bester was a convenient vehicle to do so. It's just the role is, you think in terms of the role and the challenge and the artistry. There's just more to do. There's more to do. I mean, how many different ways can you say Work vector 4, Kitty. Work vector 4, Kitty. Work vector 4, Kitty. Every time Vesta came on the show, his character was pivotal to the story. And so it was just a great deal more enjoyable. But I rush in to add, unless somebody's got their cell phone out and pulling Facebook or something. I have enormous gratitude for Star Trek. If it wasn't for Star Trek, I probably wouldn't be an actor today. Supported me for 4 decades. I met an enormous number of wonderful people. I've achieved some financial stability as a consequence of being in Star Trek. And there were some special moments that I cherish, like the voyage home, and a couple of others that were really great fun to play. Simply that the gestalt, the overall feeling is that Vesta was a more complete and more satisfying character.
Over there with goatee.
No, goatee, I don't.
You were just talking about your good moments with Star Trek. What I was thinking about was we all, in all our jobs, whether we like them or not, we all have a moment where we're going, is this really what I want to do? Did you have a moment anytime in the Star Trek series or in the movies, whether it was, having a rubber worm jamming in your ear, a little fluff ball pretending it's real? Did you ever think back in the back of your mind going, is this really what I want to do? So,
Fluff ball wasn't real? And what was the question? It's something I don't want to do, something that
well, yeah, where somebody...
I love those moments. I love having that thing crawl into my ear. I knew it wasn't real. I knew it wasn't going anywhere.
And the rest of us didn't sleep for a year.
Yeah, that was great. I love being on the other end of that, bear in mind that every time something horrific happened involving Chekov, that meant I was getting something to do. You're not in the background screaming. You're always in the foreground when you're screaming, Captain Kirk would never permitted me to be in the background and screaming, because that would have been distracting. So no, I like those things. I like every time I got burned, every time I got anything happened, that meant that I was involved in the action. Yeah. Yes!
What's the weirdest experience you've had because of Star Trek?
This one.
Yeah, apart from right now.
Well, I once had somebody come up to me who was really in the throes of something. Really shaking and really in a bad way. Grabbed my hand, fall to his knees and kiss my hand and say, if it wasn't for Jesus Christ and Star Trek, I wouldn't be alive today. And I told that story to Bill, and he said, well, I don't know if I care for the billing. Oh, there's some X-rated things I'm not going to tell. Okay.
Coming back to the nuclear vessels, do you know whatever happened to that woman who stopped on the street of San Francisco and asked her that question?
I do. I do, as a matter of fact. I didn't know her at the time, and in fact, I actually ran after her and told her to stop. Don't go anywhere. Because she didn't know what was going on. And they needed a waiver. They needed, her to sign something so they could use it in the movie. And I was worried that she'd get it, because I knew it was a kind of a special moment. It was so impromptu, it was an improvised moment. And if she got away, they would have to delete that little scene. So they did stop her, and they did get her to sign that. And yeah, I subsequently, about 10 years ago, I guess, met her. And yeah, she thought that she started going to conventions and signing autographs. Yeah, really.
At least she's doing a Q&A after
But
that.
And she got involved on some projects with a man who talks, a brilliant physicist. Yeah. What's his name? Yeah, Hawking. I got involved with him trying to promote some T-shirts or something. But she's around. She moves between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
she never went into any full-time acting or theater acting?
No. She never considered herself an actor. She just thought she'd capitalize a little bit like everybody else was. Okay, let me end with one little story. We talk so much about Star Trek and the influence on my life and how it's been there all this time for the last 40 years, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. About 20 years ago, I had surgery on my left knee, and I was told it was going to be arthroscopic, and that I'd be out of surgery in less than an hour, and I would be walking within 24 to 48 hours. And so it was going to be very minor surgery. Well, it turned out that it was more extensive. There was more cartilage torn than we thought, and I was actually on the operating table for over 2 hours, and that the prognosis was that, and it turned out that I would be on crutches for several weeks. But as I was coming out of the anesthesia, this tells you just how much part of Star Trek my life has been. How much my life has been as a result of Star Trek. I think I'm still under the anesthesia. And my eyes started to flutter, and I see looming in my face the anesthesiologist. He looks at me and he says, "I got a wee bit of bad news for you, man."
On behalf of all of us and the organizers of Hal-Con, thanks so much for deciding to be here this weekend.